you know, I am who I am. It's me. I don't want to change. Everyone talks about, oh, well, you're going to pivot. I don't want to pivot. I mean, you have to be you.
That was campaign trail Trump, but President-elect Trump also seems to be saying, I gotta be me. How will he change Washington's ways? Here with me, CNN senior White House correspondent Jim Acosta, Selena Zito, reporter for the Washington Examiner and a CNN contributor, Abby Phillip, Washington Post national political reporter and a CNN contributor, and CNN senior Washington correspondent Jeff Zeleny. So you have traveled the country with Donald Trump. Yeah. Do you think that there's going to be any pivoting at all, or is campaign Trump going to be President Trump?
I think campaign Trump will be President Trump. Every time we get asked about a pivot, the pivot doesn't happen. There's an illusion of a pivot, but then it usually doesn't happen. I think back to some of those thank you rallies that he was having towards the end of the year, and you would ask the people who work for Donald Trump, well, is he going to stick to the script? Should we hear some other things that we're not expecting tonight? And they said, well, no, he'll stick to the script, but you never know with Donald Trump. So even after winning the election and in this transition process, his folks still consider him to be unpredictable, and that's how he's going to be as president.
And in fact, Selena, one of the things, Eric Wemple, who's a Washington Post media critic, noted that the new way of reporting on cabinet appointments is along the lines of there's always a caveat that President-elect Trump has been known to change his mind at the last minute, and this could all change.
Right.
That said, we think that so-and-so is going to be named to this agency.
Right. I mean, that's his style. If anybody ever read his book, Art of the Deal, I mean, everything that he did in this entire election in 2016 was right from that playbook. He has no problem changing his mind. In fact, he feels very comfortable and feels like it's his obligation to relook at things and you know, do something different if either he's given the information or the whim takes him to go in another direction.
But could that be dangerous, do you think?
Well, sure, because circumstances change, and you know the presidency changes everyone, regardless of that. But I think Jim's right. I mean, he has not changed as president-elect at some of those same thank you rallies in Des Moines, Iowa, late last year, and the crowd was the same. He was the same. But I think the thing I'm watching for is to see how his supporters react to him becoming president, because there are some things that have changed. He's no longer talking about building the wall. That is no longer at the top of the list. The chants of lock her up have long gone away, and some of his supporters wanted that. So the voters that I talked to, these Americans now who will be judging his presidency, will be wondering, is he going to be another old politician, or is he going to be the same old Donald Trump? So I think the challenge for him is to keep it real, obviously, but he's going to disappoint some people. And so far, up until now, running for president the last year and a half, he's not disappointed anyone because he has had all these promises. The minute you become president, you have a record. And that is his challenge to, you know, to keep his record square with his base and to keep some of them excited.
One thing he has not changed, obviously, is his use of Twitter. He has talked about we should let the Chinese keep that drone. He has sent some stocks into tailspins, going after Boeing, going after Lockheed Martin. I'm sure there are advisors around Donald Trump who want to change his password without his knowing. Obviously, Twitter can be an effective tool, but it also can be destructive.
And I think there are actually some Trump supporters who would like to see him rein that in a little bit. Because, you know, talking to some voters in the last week, many of them recognize that his use of Twitter in the campaign served a particular purpose, but that it actually kind of is unbecoming of someone in the presidential office. And they recognize that because they understand there are consequences to what you do when you're president. And this is the one thing that for Donald Trump, once he becomes president, will change, whether he likes it or not. When you're in that office, when you do something, there is a reaction to it. And he's going to have to deal with that probably for the first time since he jumped into this fray. And that will change his decision making. He will no longer have free rein to just throw things up against a wall because there are potentially global consequences, economic consequences to the things that you do and the things that you say when you're in that office.
And he's obviously talking about doing things within the White House differently than they've been done before. Take a listen to Reince Priebus, the incoming White House Chief of Staff.
The traditions, while some of them are great, I think it's time to revisit a lot of these things that have been done in the White House, and I can assure you that change is going to happen.
And Selena, one of the things that Reince Priebus pointed out might change is the daily White House briefing, that they might do away with that.
I don't think that's a very good idea. That's a very important part, not only for the voters, for the American people to hear what's going on within the White House, but it's also a great way for the White House to communicate what they're doing, what they're working on, what they're thinking about things. I think it's a bad decision, and I hope it's something that they change their mind about.
I mean, when I was White House correspondent in the Obama White House in the first term, I always thought it as a way to hold them accountable for on issues that they don't want to talk about. What about this incident that just happened? You know, what's your response?
It absolutely is the way to keep the White House accountable, but I don't think Donald Trump wants to play by that rule book. And as we saw throughout the campaign, he referred to the news media as the disgusting news media, the dishonest news media, called us crooks and thieves and so on. And so why would he want to throw his spokesman out there every day and hold a briefing with these reporters that he holds in such low regard? I think that it's possible we'll see fewer briefings. Sean Spicer and Ryan Priebus have talked about having these Facebook Live chats with people and sort of democratizing the briefing, going around the filter of the press. He didn't hold a news conference after being elected president, the way that President Obama did 3 days after he was elected. And so I think that Donald Trump has sent all the signals that we need, that this is not going to be the same kind of presidency.
And he's gone after you by name, Jeff Zeleny, on Twitter. What was that experience like?
Sure, it's like he was talking about the fact that he would have won the popular vote, but not for millions of fraudulent voters, and we simply were asking, to show us those fraudulent voters. Look, it is something that we are just going to do our jobs. That is the one thing that reporters can do. It's the one thing that's expected of us. Going after us, look, a lot of his supporters also went after us, went after me. I'm certainly not alone in this. It happens to everyone. Jim has experienced this firsthand, people yelling at him at rallies, and I have. But look, I think that is sort of beside the point. But he does carry this, people believe him and will walk to the end sort of the earth with him. But the question again is, when he becomes president, will he be able to keep everyone like that happy? I'm not sure.
My New Year's resolution for you four: keep up the great work. Thank you so much for being here. Now hiring leader of the Democratic Party. Who will take over next, and what will it take to lead the party to victory?